What is this? A crossover episode? It's Pod by the River, episode 94. We're presented by Beyond the Monster, and we're also joined by one of its founding members. I don't know. I don't know exactly your how you got involved with that, but we're gonna find that out today. I'm your host, Ed Hand, joined by none other than Mr. Bitches him Hogdale. How are you doing, Mr. Bitches?
I'm still standing. I'm alive. I'm here with 2 less wisdom teeth, and I'm cooking. I can't be fucking stopped.
Not even by surgery. That's amazing. I would just use it as an excuse to take a bunch of Percocets and not have to do anything.
Yeah, no perkies consumed. Just 2 Tylenol and 2 ibuprofen. As God
I'm
intended.
surprised you're taking anything, honestly. You're like that Bond villain from The World Is Not Enough. You're just impervious to pain.
I need to watch more Bond movies, man. I haven't seen too many. I've only seen the ones that I grew up with, which are the Daniel Craig ones, which are excellent. Except Spectre.
Well,
Spectre sucks ass.
Don't worry. Now that it's been bought by Amazon, we're about to get like 8 miniseries that nobody watches. But anyway, we're joined by my partner from another show, one of the best minor league reporters for any team, but we're lucky enough to have him with the Red Sox. We've got Andrew Parker here of also Beyond the Monster. How are you doing, Mr. Parker?
I'm doing much better now that I see your face again, Ed. It's been a while. And officially meeting Hogdale for the first time. So this is it's a good day. And he's like battling over here too, by the way. He's got the 2 wisdom teeth out and he's still here. So I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Indubitably. Had to drop the catchphrase, in early. Boys, what the fuck are we talking about? By the way, presented by Beyond the Monster. Presented by Beyond the fucking Monster.
I said that.
Nah, I didn't hear you, so it doesn't count.
I didn't say it?
Consider that.
I didn't hear you either.
I definitely.
Nah.
Ah, shit. All right. Well, Andrew, you were just in Fort Myers for a bit, weren't you?
Absolutely. I was down there for a week. And it was absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to say this to just about anybody that is even remotely into the minor leagues. I would go before the games start. Like next year, it's everybody's there. Every single player is reported and everybody's out there, and all the minor league guys are right up next to, even the major league guys are out there as well. But it was for a guy that loves the minor leagues. And I know, Ed, you obviously do a lot. It's one of the best things you could do as a Red Sox fan to try to just see everybody right in front of you.
Before we get into the actual the players and your scouting and analysis and all that, how did you end up at Beyond the Monster? How did you end up with this specialty in the minor leagues?
It's kind of a long story, but we can thank our good pal Chris Cotillo for kind of getting this going in a weird way. So obviously our good pal Chris Enrique started up this Beyond the Monster thing, I think during COVID at some point. And I was kind of like not really, I used to do a bunch of writing stuff and a bunch of like podcasts like back like in 2018 2017 with a guy named Nick Galley. Shout out to Nick. He works for Tom Brady's company now, so shout out to him. But me and him would do a podcast. We would write together back like before podcasts were even like a thing, I feel like. And me and him kind of like stopped doing it. He went off to college. And I was kind of just floating around for a little bit. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. And COVID hits and Chris starts up the thing. And I start following, we start following each other. Chris Cotillo obviously kind of bridged the gap between us two. And I don't know. I reached out to Chris after I want to start writing again. And Chris had a platform and he welcomed me in open arms. And it's happily ever after since then.
Yeah, because when I met you initially at over at Polar Park, I mean, it was you and Chris, and you were the Beyond the Monster guys, and it hadn't really gotten much of a following yet or anything. But what's it been, 2-3 years since then? I mean, you guys have been as regular with that stuff as anybody, and it's not easy to do. One of the hardest things I've found is how do you how do you produce when you don't necessarily have that audience? And obviously you've gotten it now, but at the beginning, it's you don't know if anybody's reading it. It's like when you start a podcast, you don't know if anybody's going to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, but you guys can probably attest to this as well. It's like, obviously I know you started Pod by the River after you kind of had like a little bit of a following, so I guess it's a little different. But I think when I started writing for Beyond the Monster and I joined Chris, I maybe had like 800 followers, maybe like 700, and they were mostly people I went to high school with or college with. It was like people that I knew. So it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, they're not really following me for like Red Sox stuff or like anything like that. So I almost started from like ground zero. And me and Chris will always tell like either new writers on, the Beyond the Monster or whoever. It's like, if we get questions like, well, how'd you guys do it? It's kind of like, you just got to keep doing it. It's like, you're going to be speaking to nobody. You're going to be writing to nobody. But, we started with 0 subscribers on Beyond the Monster. I think now we have like over 1,400, 1,500 now, that people that willingly get emails of our writing to their emails, which is crazy. So you just got to keep doing it. I don't know. We just kept going and going, and it eventually kind of gave way. And I think we caught a couple lucky breaks along the way. So I don't know. You just right time, right place kind of thing.
Did you have any moments where you were like any one particular moment really where you were like, oh, holy shit, there are people that are actually listening to what I have to say and they're like checking in when I come out with something or waiting for my updates?
Yeah, I think breaking news is always one of those things that obviously gets you a little bit of attention. I can't remember what the first one was, but I think it was during the 2023 season, and it was our first year credentialed in Worcester. And I think just, having conversations with guys and breaking either a call up or whatever it is, I feel like it starts to put a little bit more of a spotlight on you. Obviously you have I think the first one, and I know you guys both love this guy, but Tyler Milliken was actually a huge help in this. I don't want to hype him up too much, but he, I know he's big in the minor leagues, and for some reason early on, he was one of my first followers when I was starting to do minor league and covering Worcester. So he ended up retweeting something, and that it just kind of went from there. And so kind of shout out to Tyler, kind of not, but we'll take his flowers.
I love Tyler. Tyler's the fucking man.
I do too.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear also just who people get support from and where that, because I don't think there's anybody that just pulls themselves up by their own bootstraps on their own and just, oh, I'm gonna get this big following, I'm gonna get this job or what have you. There's a lot of people that get you to where you're going on that. But I did not know that's how you kind of got started with this stuff. And I literally have a podcast with you. So that's why we do these crossover episodes. But let's get to what people are actually here for. Hogdale, how'd your date last night go?
There was no date.
Yeah, that was a lie.
Again, the lame stream media is going around spreading misinformation on my name yet again. And honestly, it sickens me. It disgusts me to my core. I can't believe the libs got away with this yet again.
Yeah, spring training, dude. What did you get into down there? Was there anything that really the first thing that you think about spring training 2025? Obviously, you went to Zaxby's a few times, but beyond that, and we'll get to Zaxby's, don't worry, we'll get there. But what's the first thing when I ask you, how was Fort Myers? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, it was apparently, so I didn't go last year. I didn't go the year before or anything like that, but from what I've heard from a couple of the players, obviously that had returned in the system, that have been around for a while, and some of the people, even the media guys, and I think Rob Bradford said it as well. But there were so many people there last week, and it was one of those things where apparently at that time the year before it was completely dead. You would have some of the people down there, but there was a lot of fans. And I think that, and I think you tweeted out at something about hey, people are starting to talk about it more. It's you're at a grocery store wearing your Red Sox hat. Somebody's going to say let's go Sox this year. It was a lot of people down there. I think people are just ready for it. I think that was the number one thing that kind of pops out is people are craving baseball stuff. So I started tweeting out all those videos, And I was shocked by how many people actually cared. Like that, like Trent O'Donnell was throwing a live BP on the mound. Like I was stunned, like how many people were like, let's go. Like, this is great. So I don't know, just like the fan interest is so up right now. That's the number one thing that I like, my biggest takeaway from last week.
Yeah. Have you considered that no one went to truck day? So actually no one gives a fuck.
We don't know if that truck actually made it down there. I didn't see it. So
yeah. Again, again, the media, where'd the truck go? Where's the fucking truck at? I was promised a truck. I didn't see it land in the fucking port.
I didn't see it in the parking lot.
Open your third eye.
No, that's interesting though. Like, are you? Is there generally much Sox gear in Iowa, Hogdale? Like, are you seeing any compared to the norm?
Fuck no. I mean, in Iowa, I mean, honestly, I don't see much baseball merch. Like, if I do, it's like the Cubs, the Royals, and then the Cardinals. It's like that's the 1, 2, 3, and then obviously everywhere has a bit of Yankees merch, spread around. But people don't really give a shit about the Red Sox around here. Not very much. It's I'm the one who's parroting the banner for that.
Yeah, you're kind of a one-man army down there. But you had the thing that I liked, and you didn't even mention this, Andrew, was the list that you would do at the end of the day, which you and Chris Clegg both were doing this a bunch for. His was for like all of MLB. Yours was for like the Red Sox system. There were some details in there that you weren't getting anywhere else, though. There was one thing that really stood out. I remember. I mean, there were a few things that we're going to get to, but the thing that I remember like kind of my eyes opened a little bit was you saw Franklin Arias, currently number 5 in the system, shortstop at Salem. I think 18 years old. You saw him take a batting practice that you said was impressive. What did you mean by that? What did you see?
So I don't know if you guys watched the game or listened to the game. Actually, is in the Red Sox Braves today, which was on the 25th. I don't know when this is coming out, but I listened to Will Fleming and Cooper Boardman actually on there, and they were talking about something that relates to what I saw about Franklin Arias's BP. But they were kind of talking about the guys, kind of like the big 3 guys of like Campbell, Anthony, and Meyer. And when they take a BP, like just the sound, like they were talking about just describing like, when you hear them take BP, you're like, wow, like it's kind of like, that's like a pro guy right there. Like that guy means business in the box. And I don't know, for some reason, I'm walking around at Fort Myers, there's like 3 fields, like there's like 3 backfields that are all like right up against each other. And they're usually all doing live BP, or guys are doing like outfield, like fielding drills. And then there's another one that's just like batting practice. Franklin Arias was taking BP, and I was 2 fields over, and I could hear it from over there. And I'm like, I gotta go see who that is, because I thought somebody was doing like a live. I thought it was like actually like a pitcher throwing it to him. It was literally him just doing BP, and just the way it sounded, like it's one of those things that sounds so weird, and you're just like, I don't know how you can like grasp anything from just like a sound, but it's like him hitting a ball, and then I don't want to like name drop other guys that were like hitting in the group with him, but it's just like when they were hitting the ball, it's like you don't hear that. You don't hear the pop off the bat. You don't hear that. It's just like, it might be an old school thing. It might just be like, might not mean much to other people, but just hearing it come off the bat and watching him spray the ball all around the field anywhere he wanted to and putting on a show, it was one of the more like impressive things I saw all week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a saying that you hear a lot. The ball sounds different off of his bat. That's something that and I feel like it's one of those things. I know it when I hear it, and it's hard to explain, but you know it when you hear it. And I think, I mean, we got to see Roman Anthony and Kristen Campbell play a bit last year in Worcester, and it sounds different when they get a good piece of one. It sounds different than your average hitter doing it. So I know what you're saying, but it is hard to explain. And you heard that from 2 fields away?
Yeah, it was so weird because the big league guys were taking BP like I don't know how to like explain this right, but there's almost like 4 fields kind of like backed up, like home plates are backed up against each other. It's like 4 diamonds. And I was like down in the outfield in the other diamond, and he was taking BP in like the one like across from me. So like I was pretty much 2 baseball fields away, and I could hear it. So it was one of those things where I was kind of like, I got to go see what this is. So It was impressive, man. It was like you said, as soon as you hear it, you're like, that's just different.
Were there any other hitters that really stood out to you that you got to see?
I don't know so much on the hitting side. I did like seeing Will Turner take BP. You know, him and Zach Earhart were switching off one day, and I just found Will Turner fascinating because, you know, I did get to talk to him a little bit after it and just kind of like catch up with him and just like, cause, you know, I don't know if it was you that was on with
I was on that one with Will Turner.
He had kind of said that he was like working on some things over the off season. He was kind of like in the lab, and like obviously he had like a little bit of a down year last year after being like a top prospect at one point heading into the draft. So he kind of had a rough year last year. Didn't really equate well to Greenville when he got over. Like obviously it was a very small sample size. I'm not really going to take any of it, but you know, him kind of talking about like, hey, this is what I use BP for. I use it to. I want to see if I have enough in me to drive it to the opposite field. I want to see this and then go, and then actually like seeing him like go and execute it was kind of cool to watch. And I think he believes that he unlocked something this offseason. He's been in Fort Myers for months now. I mean, he didn't just get there within the last like couple weeks. He's been there for like 2-3 months at this point. So I think him just being able to go out and do his thing, he's been a good hitter his entire life up until just a year and a half ago. So I think he was probably another guy that I was kind of interested in watching in the BP realm of things.
Now, did you talk to a lot of the players? Like how many guys, especially the guys that we had on to the show we go, how many people were you talking to there?
I mean, probably 40 plus.
Look at this guy. Look at this popular guy over here.
No, it's easy. Like
for you, yeah, you're a charming guy.
But the cool thing about it, and if somebody's into the minor leagues, like these minor league guys walk through the complex where amongst all the fans, like you don't have to have like any sort of credential, anything to get up next to these guys. They're literally standing next to you, like walking right by you. Like it's very easy to like get up close and personal, ask them a question, get a picture, autograph, whatever like a fan wants to do. Like super easy to like talk to these guys, which is kind of cool.
Was there anybody that you particularly enjoyed the conversation with beyond Turner?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of tough, man. I mean, I don't know. It's like trying to pick favorites in like the system, and just like, you know, I like.
You don't have to. It's not like this isn't a Sophie's Choice. We're not killing the ones that that you don't give the answer to for.
I mean,
under the earth, name your favorite prospect.
I mean, obviously, like a couple of my favorite guys are, you know, Turner O'Donnell and Noah Dean. I mean, those guys are two of the more free-loving guys. Like, I don't know how to really explain them, but they give you the shirt off their back kind of guys. They're, I don't know. I enjoyed conversations with them. Obviously, you know, David Sandlin's out there just like roasting everybody else, which is like kind of funny. Obviously, he's very vocal on Twitter about calling out Turner's Rocket League game or Hayden Mullins is bad at COD, things like that. So like he's very vocal out there about it as well. So that's kind of fun to hear. I mean, it's kind of cool to hear like the banter between the guys, like, you know, because it's just like they're normal guys that are just like roasting each other for being bad at COD and being bad at Rocket League. And so, I mean, some of that stuff was kind of fun to hear.
So is Noah Dean, because you mentioned this in one of your tweets, is Noah Dean actually allergic to sunscreen, or does he just not like sunscreen?
See, as a fellow redhead and in the redhead ginger community, I fully understand the hate towards sunscreen. And a lot of us redheads that once we get older, we have PTSD from moments where our parents would dump an entire bottle of sunscreen on us when we were young and pale. Now we're old and pale. And we don't like sunscreen. None of us like putting it on. It's just a thing. Like, it's just what it is. So I'm trying to put sunscreen on for once in my life down at the complex. Noah Dean's walking straight towards me, and he's like squinting, trying to see what I'm putting on in my hand. And I'm just like, dude, it's sunscreen. Like, we have red hair. Like, it is what it is. Like, get over it. Like, I'm using sunscreen. And he's just like, oh, like I'm allergic to sunscreen. Like, I can't like fist bump you or anything right now. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm allergic to it too. Like, I hate it. He's like, no, I'm like legit allergic to it. So he just burns.
Oh my
kind
God.
of interesting.
Yeah, I wonder though, like,
do you think every redhead has like the deep-seated urge to be sunburned so they can achieve their final form of becoming Elmo?
I wasn't expecting that one to come out, but yes is your answer, I think. It turns us all a different shade of white. So I mean, I always enjoy I if I do get a little burn, which I did in Fort Myers, you just get you're a little more pink, just less white. I don't know. It's getting closer to Elmo. I'll agree with you.
Did you have like a full meeting with all of the Red Sox redheads? I guess Brandon Walter isn't there anymore, but there are a few others. There's Dean, there's Dalton Rogers, there's Hunter Dobbins. Like there are a few more gingers than I remember there ever being on the Red Sox. Did you guys like all go to Zaxby's together?
No, did not go to Zaxby's. The only ones that I went with were Alex Spinellis and Conrad Kaysen. Conrad Kaysen is obsessed with Zaxby's, by the way, but
really,
he goes 4 times a week. I mean, it's incredible behavior out of him. Like that's my 2-way prospect right there.
I think it's a 3-way prospect now. You got the chicken eating in there. That wasn't a sex joke.
Wow.
I'm going to be honest with you, Hogdale. I lost Ed right now.
Yeah, you lost him.
Did you lose him?
No, he's completely fine for that entire portion for me.
Okay, I'm good. He's back. I don't know what.
Great work, team.
Something just happened. We had a technical difficulty, Ed. I didn't know what you said.
Yeah, I don't know what I said either, to be fair. Okay. There, I have no idea. But yeah, Kaysen's a good guy. Is an interesting guy too. We had him on the pod, and did you get to see him hit or pitch at all? Did you get to scout that at all?
Yeah, so I never got to see him in the cage. He was never hitting when I was around. He was taking fielding drills with the infielders. He was with like the group of Antonio Anderson, Nazan, Yolene Cespedes. It was kind of like the low A guys. I think we're all kind of hanging out together doing fielding drills. And then he would go warm up with the pitchers, with like the rest of the minor league pitchers every day. So he'd go straight out to the fielding portion first and then head right over and do warm up. I never got to see him throw off a mound, but he was going back and forth between the fields, which was super impressive.
So he really is doing all of the workouts for both of them. So is it just is it like a different one each day? Because I can't imagine like the timing is going to be all the same for those, right?
You would be surprised that the schedule, I don't fully understand like the schedule aspect when I was down there. Cause I'm like, I was also thinking, I'm like, how does he have time to do all this? But they kind of stagger the guys as they go out. Like the pitchers, like you would see like maybe the AA guys go out there first one day. And then like the lower level guys would go out there later, or the AAA guys that weren't in our eyes. And so it was kind of staggered, I guess. So like Conrad would kind of just be like, I don't know. It would just be random times. You would just see him like hoofing it back and forth.
Gotcha. So that was probably because he had other things he had to get into there. Did you get to see any of the big three, any of those guys there? Because I know they're not roster invites, so they're with the big league team. But did you get to see much of them?
Oh yeah. Our favorite manager, Chad Tracy, was working with those guys quite a bit. And I was talking with Chad a little bit. And it was one of those things where, I feel like one of the big areas of focus for them was like a lot like in the field, where I saw Chad like really working with Marcelo on like, okay, like doing everything from relays, like for a cutoff man all the way to like what it looks like at third base, what it looks like at second base. And Marcelo was getting time in at second, short, and third when I was there around the big league guys. And obviously he was working with Campbell at second base, the left field, things like that. So I don't know. I was picking Chad's brain a little bit just about like things that he was kind of working on with some of the younger guys like those three. And he didn't work as much with Roman because I know he's not as much of an outfield guy, but I don't know. It's just kind of cool to like see them kind of work on different positions. And obviously they're going to be seeing all three of them are going to be seeing different positions in Worcester if they're all there.
Did you get any insight into what Campbell and Anthony would have to do to make the opening day roster?
No, absolutely not, because it's one of those things where they're not, I don't even think they know that yet. I think personally, like, as you've seen from the pitching side of things, it's like it went from like, okay, like Quinn Priester, Fitz, Dobbins, Cooper Criswell are going to be like your top 4 in Worcester, and you're good. Like, you're going to have like a great rotation. Now it's gone from like, well, we might possibly be seeing 2 of them in the Red Sox major league rotation to start the year with all the injuries to Cutter and Bayo's behind and all that. So I don't think they even know on who's making the team yet, position player wise.
I mean, it's interesting mentioning Priester, though. You said that he's put on a bunch of muscle, right?
Oh, he looks way different, like way different.
Dare you say he's in the best shape of his life?
Yeah, best shape of his life. But I mean, Ed can probably attest to this. Quinn Priester was like kind of like a toothpick.
He was lanky.
He came over.
Yeah, he was lanky, and that's fine for pitchers, but he was definitely lanky.
Yeah, like he's very tall, lanky guy, just like didn't really have a lot on him. And I feel like now it's like his lower half, which I don't know, it just seems much different than whenever he came over from the trade. I just feel like he didn't really, like, probably soaking wet. It looked like he was like 160 last year. I know he was a 160, but it looked like it. And this year it's noticeably different.
Yeah.
The kids having trouble with Penny.
Yeah, we're not editing that. We're not editing that. It's staying in the episode.
Professional program, by the way.
Very professional program we have here. But yeah, no, that's interesting with Priester. Did you notice any other big physical changes with any players like that? Any other guys that you had seen in Worcester and now they look, oh wow, he is in the best shape of his life?
I like that, like, you can't say Vaughn Grissom because him putting on 20 pounds, he's now like at net neutral based on the like the fucking 50 pounds he lost last year to the fucking Black Plague.
There was a few. There was a few different guys, but I do want to give a shout out to Mikey Romero. Mikey's always been like a smaller guy, but that is a guy that I didn't even think of earlier that you asked me, like, who was impressive. Like, he actually sent me a message after I recorded some of his BP, but he was like, hey, I was trying to put on a show. I saw you recording and I was trying to, like, he legit DM'd me like right after I posted it. So
that's awesome.
Mikey looks like he's a little bit stronger. And I was watching the game 2 days ago, and Brian Abraham was on the broadcast, and I think Bradfo asked him about, like, hey, what do you think about Mikey? And he's like, yeah, Mikey's looking a little stronger this year. He's been determined. He was working out with Marcelo Meyer all offseason in California, and he's a guy that's definitely looks a little bulked up as on the hitting side of things.
It's interesting because last year when they drafted him, he was definitely a hit tool first, maybe not so much power. And then last year it was power, less hit tool, and they seem to think he can stick at shortstop. So it's kind of funny how the development sometimes goes with that. Do they seem to think that he's going to be sticking at shortstop right now?
I haven't heard anything different. Obviously, shortstop in Portland was pretty secured at the beginning of last year with Marcelo Meyer, obviously being there. But, obviously it's a little more open right now in Portland, where I would assume Mikey would return since he didn't get up there until after the halfway point last year. So I don't see anybody else really challenging him for that spot. Obviously, some of the shortstop prospects, like Cespedes and a few of the other guys are a little below him. And I think Justin Reimer, I think, is down in Greenville, but I don't see any reason why he would move off a shortstop as of right now.
Well, I've been hoarding the questions here. What do you got, Hogdale?
What you think that I came like pre-prepped with, like, oh yeah, let me go over like what my big questions for the Red Sox prospect system. I got my fucking teeth yanked out, you jagaloon. The fuck? It's two really thought I came pre-prepped.
I don't know. I thought you might have. I thought you might have a
bulletin board. I've been in pain, motherfucker.
I thought you might have a question. I don't know. I thought you might have a question that you thought up through the pain. Okay.
How do you, Andrew? How do you bear with a dick that big? How do you do it?
I've
Being
listened
that well endowed in the phallus department.
I've listened to some of your recent podcasts and I've taken notes. So there we go.
On that note, let's go to some of the fan questions here because we did have some people write in. So first one comes from our best question asker since our days with the Pesky Report, Marty McFly, and he wants to know which of the veteran relief pitcher signings has the best chance of making the team. I'm talking the likes of Matt Moore, Adam Ottavino, Sean Newcomb, Austin Adams, Michael Fulmer.
It's tough. I saw your poll today too, as well, Ed, and I was gonna ask you if I could vote for two because, me and you had an interview this offseason with Justin Slayton, and I think something that really stuck out to me that Justin Slayton talked about was how big of an influence that Chris Martin was, and that like a veteran like Chris Martin in the bullpen was so big, especially for some of the younger guys. So it's so important, I think, for a guy like Adam Ottavino to make that team because it's like Garrett Whitlock, I think, even came out with it the other day that he was like, hey, I was so hyped when I found out he was coming back. He was big for me in 2021 when I was like new on the scene. And I think having a guy like Ottavino make the opening day roster means a lot more than maybe his stats or whatever numbers he puts up. I think just like that veteran presence. And I know Liam Hendricks will bring some of that as well, but I think Adam Ottavino's like role and presence in that bullpen is one of the reasons why he's probably going to make the opening day roster.
Chris Martin being the guy that inspires our young guys is such a glow up from who used to inspire our fucking young guys. Like Garrett Whitlock back in the day was inspired by Matt Andriese to throw a better changeup. He's like, oh yeah, Matt Andriese, big piece, showed me how to throw my changeup. It's like fucking like that used to be our star veteran, out there, showing the young guys the ropes. So glad we've glowed up a bit.
Yeah, I think as well, like, I know Ed was asking a tough question to Slayton about Kenley Jansen.
Oh, God, don't remind me.
Yeah, just kind of like, hey, like, we all kind of know Kenley was a dick, but like, how was he in the bullpen type thing? And I think Slayton answered it well. He was like, yeah, like Kenley was good, but Chris Martin was the guy. So it's like, I feel like
if a young guy approached Kenley Jansen, I think he would like break their kneecaps with a baseball bat. Like, I think, and like, I mean, it didn't seem like the most approachable guy ever. He just wanted to go hang out in his bat cave, which he had probably stationed in the Red Sox bullpen. And you know what? All fair play to him, man. I don't like talking to people either.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I kind of took away from that, which is kind of like, yeah, like Slayton probably maybe tried it out at the beginning, and Kenley was just like, like, I'm not going to learn your name type thing. But I don't know. I think Ottavino would just be so nice in that bullpen on opening day, kind of taking over the Chris Martin, like veteran, been around. He seems like a good guy. Fake Twitter page though, but he seems like a good guy.
Yeah, that was wild with the fake. The more amazing thing to me with the fake Ottavino page was how many people immediately believed it.
Yeah,
like I have no reason to not believe this.
Yeah, but he's like a 39-year-old man using all of these emoticons and talking about how nervous he is about the first day of spring training.
Yeah, that was wild. And he was like posting photos of like a hot dog in the stands. He's like, this looks good. And it's just like, this isn't Adam Ottavino.
Who is this man? At the same time, though, it's one of those things where, like, of all the people you would impersonate online, like, why the fuck would it be Adam Ottavino? And in what universe?
Because the screen name was available. The handle of just Adam Ottavino was there. You didn't need any numbers. You didn't need any hyphens.
He is available for a reason, because it's Adam Ottavino, man. He's just a random reliever. Like, he's had a good career, but fuck.
All right, so thanks, Marty, for that one. Our next one is from AZ McD, fellow writer at Beyond the Monster. What is something that didn't make the rounds of social media clicks, but you found interesting, Andrew?
Kind kind of a tough, like, can you define what made the rounds of social media clicks?
I would say things that became like, okay, so what made the rounds? I don't know, Rafi Devers saying that he will never play a position other than third base and that he hopes Alex Bregman falls out of a moving airplane or something. You remember when that happened?
Yeah, that's fair.
I can't believe he said that. Like, that was
crazy. He thought we wouldn't know just because he said it in Spanish, but we know.
I don't know. It's like kind of tough because I feel like if anything noteworthy went on, I feel like somebody put it out. I feel like there wasn't really much that didn't go around. I mean, like I said, I hung out more on the minor league side, so like I wasn't really around a lot of the big league side for a lot of the week. But
anything notable with the minor leaguers happen?
Not that I didn't put out there. I mean, there was quite a few live BPs, things like that.
Look at this motherfucker pulling the Chris Cotillo, being like, "Hey, if I would have heard of it, you guys would have heard of it." Am I right, fellas?
Well, I mean,
how about do your job, Andrew? How about you do some fucking digging? What are we doing here?
I don't know. I if something was going to get some clicks, I mean, you put it out there. I mean, Chris isn't technically wrong about that, but I don't know.
I was saying, what
did you put out there that you thought would get more clicks than it did?
What's Kristen Campbell's Chipotle order? How about that?
Yeah, no, maybe just like the Zaxby's content. That was probably the stuff that would have done that probably I thought was going to do better. I don't know.
That leads us into our 45-minute plan segment about Zaxby's.
Ed's all too familiar with this, all right?
I've never been to Zaxby's, by the way. I've never, I'm unfamiliar.
Neither have I. I went to Chicken Express instead when I had the chance because Hunter Dobbins had told me to go to Chicken Express, and I didn't want to be disrespectful to him while I was in Texas.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a Zaxby's in Iowa. Like, I'm pretty sure they are here. I've just never had them before.
No Zaxby's above the great state of Missouri.
What the fuck is up with that?
What did Hogdale see then? Was it a Phantom Iowa? Was it like a Phantom Iowan?
Might have been some other. They might have stole the name and just fucking thought no one would notice.
It's just Zaxby's, but there were like 3 X's in it or something.
Might have been, honestly.
It's just like a chicken themed strip club.
That'd be funny.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, AZ McD. Next up, this is from G Wanders. What was your initial reaction to seeing bulked up Cedar Rafaela in person, and what does it mean for his game?
Yeah, Liz, I saw that question and I was kind of thinking, I'm like, I don't know if that does much for me. Like, I don't know if it does much just because of the player that he is. Like, we all know Rafaela's like issues. It's like the chase and, the swing and miss, just things like that. Like, I don't really know what being like his power kind of surprised me last year. Like, I feel like he hit for more power than I thought he was going to do at the major league level. I expected bare minimum with the bat last year, like bare minimum. And I know he's been good with the bat in his minor league career, but at the major league level, I just thought the player he was playing all over the field, just thought like maybe the hitting would take a backseat a little bit, like especially the power. But I don't know if that really, does that do anything for you guys? Like seeing like a guy like Rafaela be more beefed up?
Not really. I'm not gonna lie. I heard that it's one of those things where it's the spring training thing as well. Every guy's like, yeah, I'm in the best shape of my life. I put on muscle. We're feeling good. And like, okay, cool. Show me in the regular season, like when the games matter, I guess. Like Rafaela, like people are talking about like the walk he took a couple days ago in a spring training game. I'm like, I mean, neat, cool. This doesn't matter. It's spring training. It's whatever, It's just one of those things where you just kind of wait for the season and we'll see. And, Sadon's power, it's like you said last year, I was surprised with it. Like, I feel like he has the power where if he just can put semi-consistent contact to the ball, he could be a 20 home run guy pretty consistently, especially, hitting at Fenway. But I mean, as far as, oh yeah, man, 20 pounds of unfettered lean muscle. Like, this guy is a fucking, stud. That does absolutely nothing for me.
Which, by the way, I did hear. I mean, I know it's like a joke, like best shape of your life. Like, I know that's like a running joke, but the amount of guys that I would talk to, they're just like, yeah, I mean, I gained 10 pounds this offseason. I gained 15. It's just like every single guy. You're right. Hogdale, you're right. It's like every single guy is like leaned up, like beefed up. And it's, I don't know.
Look, they're professional athletes. Like, yeah, I'm happy that you're holding up your end of the bargain to be in the best possible shape you can be. Congratulations, you hit the bare minimum. And also, no guy, like when you're coming into spring training with all these optimistic vibes, you're like, hey man, how's your off-season program go? Oh, fucking terrible, dude. I mean, it just did not go the way I foresaw. I didn't hit my program properly. I didn't hit my goals. I only gained 2 pounds of muscle. I thought I was going to gain 8. Like, no one's going to say that. Not a single person is going to fucking say that.
I feel like Brian Mata might if people asked him, just from what I've been hearing on him. But
yeah, I skipped out on the protein shakes one too many days, and fuck, man. I mean, just didn't.
You know what tastes better? You know what tastes better than a protein shake? A milkshake. Much better.
It's true. That checks out.
All right, so thank you, G Wanderers. We've got one more question. This one's also from our buddy Tommy Bennett.
Mata's off-season program going poorly is like obviously. Has he ever had a program ever, like as a player for the Boston Red Sox, go correctly? If anything, he should be like, fuck, more of the same. We move.
I feel like you could have ended that sentence as, has he ever had a program?
That's a very good point. It reminds me of that meme I saw a while ago where it's like, hey, like it's like New Year's. It's like, guys, this is my year. Let's go forward. Gets diarrhea once. Well, nonetheless, next year, I guess.
That's Brian Mata in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah. Nonetheless, we move briskly forward.
All right, so last question. This one's from Tommy Bennett. Which player stood out to you the most that should be on the radar of fans who might be unaware of this player?
So easy answer, but I think he's on radars, is Connolly Early. But
we haven't talked about him yet, though. So let's go into the story of Connolly Early, who I believe started at West Point. That guy was a good guest to have on. I really liked him.
Yeah, he's kind of fascinating, right? Where it's like, he was at Army West Point, and he's just like, I gotta go somewhere else. Like, this is absolutely crazy, is what I deciphered from him telling us that, which I don't blame at all. And he ended up going to Virginia, teammates with Kyle Teal there at Virginia, and obviously being drafted by the Red Sox. And I don't know. I just feel like we didn't really hear much about him. Like right after he was drafted, he was a earlier round pick. So like I was kind of surprised we didn't hear more about him. He's a lefty. They're using him as a starter right now. So I've heard a lot of good stuff about him down there. I was talking to whether it was pitching coach Dan DeLucia, that's the Woo Sox pitching coach. I talked to a couple guys on Brian Abraham's team, and I think everything I'm hearing about him is that he's going to be an absolute stud in 25. And he had a really good year last year. He's a little under the radar too.
Under the radar, because all the scouting reports on him are like number 5 starter at best. Maybe he's a lefty, so maybe that'll be something. But it seemed like, especially when you heard people kind of in the end of the season debrief or whatever, he was the guy that kept coming up. Like, he was striking a lot of people out. He wasn't walking anybody. He got promoted a few times. Like, maybe this is the year of Connolly Early.
Yeah, I think he's started to get a little love. I know Sox prospects kind of jolt him up a little bit. I know he's up there now on their list. I think he's in the top 20, maybe. Last time I checked, but
yeah, I think he's number 14.
Yeah, he's like a guy that, like, is he really off the radar? Like, I don't know, but
to casuals who are just getting back into the team now, yeah, I would say he is not on the radar for them.
Okay, well, here's a good question. Hogdale, I'm sure you knew who Connolly Early was.
I had heard his name, definitely, yes. But if you're asking me if I knew who he was, if I could break down the kind of player he was, no, I could not have done that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to probably be like a guy that, like, most fans are going to be like, okay, I know who Connolly Early is. He's in Worcester probably at the end of the season in 25. So it's like he's probably going to get added to the 40-man roster in the offseason or whatever it is. Like,
yeah, he's kind of at a point this year that like Hunter Dobbins was at last year, but without the Tommy John rehab.
That's a very, very good comparison. just the left-handed version, I think.
Yeah.
Just kind of like that. Like,
we're even kind of similar pitchers.
Yeah, projects is like, projects is the back of the end starter that you could see as like a 4 or 5 or whatever in the MLB. So he's the obvious answer. Obviously, he was and he said it came right out of his mouth. He hit 97 the week before I got down there in a in a session he was throwing off the mound, and they're very, very high on him. But I do want to say 3 other guys that. Just a quick thing. Yeah, there's 3 pitchers on. They're like, hey, about the original question of like who's not on the radar that maybe could be sneak onto some radars. 3 of the new draft guys from 24 that I've been hearing some things about. I got to see them, and they're hulks of human beings down there, by the way. First one is Brandon Clark.
Lefty, right?
Yeah, if you see Brandon Clark just like in athletic shorts and a t-shirt, he looks like the Incredible Hulk. He is built like a train. Like I thought he was going to go out there and I thought he was a linebacker, to be honest. Like, he is one of the most built pitchers I've ever seen in my life. But I've heard a lot of things about him. He's obviously just a mammoth of a human being. They drafted a bunch of them, but he hasn't pitched yet in the Red Sox system, but he's projected to be a starter in Greenville this year. So definitely looking out for him. Another guy is Stephen Brooks. I didn't really know much about Stephen Brooks.
Yeah, he was like a 20th round pick or something. He was real late in the draft,
11th.
wasn't he?
Yeah, 11th round.
Oh, 11th. Okay, I'm confusing him with someone else. Don't mind.
Yeah, he's a guy that Brian Abraham specifically talked about on the broadcast the other day with when he was on for the radio. I forgot which game it was, but he specifically brought up Stephen Brooks' name. And I'm like, why would he bring up an 11th round guy in the 24 draft that hasn't debuted yet? He's a huge guy too. He's 6'6". Guy's enormous. But apparently throws really hard. They've liked what they saw out of him. And then my last guy is Brandon Neely. I watched him throw live BP. He was Florida's closer last year. SEC driven, tested guy. I'm a big SEC guy. Even though shout out to Hogdale up there, Big Ten country. I do love the Big Ten. But Brandon Neely, man, I think he's going to be pretty good. He's probably going to end up in the bullpen, but he served as Florida's closer for 2 years. And doing that in the SEC is impressive. So I think those 3 names are names that maybe start to hear a little more about, obviously, as they make their organization debut in 2025.
Who's bigger, Brandon Clark or Peyton Tolley?
When you look at Peyton Tolley's obviously tall. Like, he's obviously a big guy, but Brandon Clark is huge. Like, I thought Blake Wehunt was going to be the biggest guy I saw in the system. Like, when I met him last year in New Hampshire when Portland was playing there, and I was like he was towering over me. Like, Blake Wehunt is a big human being. He's 6'7", 240. And I'm like, I'll never see a bigger guy in the Red Sox system. I know he's got Brandon Clark on the height, but Brandon Clark, man, he is just like, I mean, it literally looks like he's about to go suit up and play linebacker in either Division I college football or in the NFL.
That's it. Yeah, I remember Tolley being like, we have a good front like offensive line, and we have a good starting 5 for basketball. It's kind of wild, just all of the Clydesdales that they drafted last year.
Dude, they have a set. Like, I think they could all go out and start on Iowa's O-line. Like, those guys in Iowa always has some big old corn-fed dudes on their offensive line there in Iowa, but like, holy cow, man, they got some big boys down there. Like, I mean, even Trent O'Donnell towers over me. I mean, that guy's.
I mean, O'Donnell's like. Also, his name is Trenner. He has to be like over 6'6" if his name is Trenner, right?
He's got the big old red beard right now. He's got like long red hair out the back, and he's 6'8", 250, and that's Jesus a Red Sox Christ. Pitching prospect.
That's like a bunch of Red Sox pitching prospects, though.
Yeah, Craig Breslow and company have a type right now when it comes to drafting, and they're big ass boys.
We'll see if it pays off as we move towards the season and as we get to the minor league season. We'll see if the pitching pipeline, how that moves. But Yeah, no, it was really great having you on here, dude. It's been way too long. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about, Hoggy?
Mostly I'm thinking about my next Tylenol that I need to take because the last one wore off and I'm dying.
All right, so we'll let you get your Tylenol, and we'll be back. We'll be back soon. But thanks again. It's Andrew Parker. You can follow him at by Andrew Parker. He's also with Beyond the Monster, so check out his work there, and we'll see you next time.